You've been calling it laziness. But what if it's actually avoidance? What if every time you procrastinate, freeze, or put something off, your brain is protecting you from a discomfort you've stopped noticing? And what you've been calling laziness is actually a pattern. Maybe this feels familiar. There are things you want to do, things you know would improve your life. You want to start the project, apply for the job, make the phone call, work on the goal, have the conversation. But somehow you don't. Instead, you scroll, you watch videos, you think about doing the thing, you plan to do the thing. You tell yourself you'll do it tomorrow. Then tomorrow arrives, and the same thing happens again. After a while, you start becoming frustrated with yourself, because it doesn't make sense. If you care about the goal, why aren't you moving? If you know what to do, why aren't you doing it? And eventually you arrive at the explanation that seems obvious. Maybe I'm just lazy. Maybe I lack discipline. Maybe I don't want it badly enough. But those explanations often miss what's really happening. Most people think behavior is driven by logic. It usually isn't. Behavior is often driven by emotion. More specifically, avoidance. Imagine touching a hot stove. You don't need discipline to avoid it. Your brain automatically learns hot equals danger. Avoid. Now imagine a different kind of pain. Failure, embarrassment, rejection, disappointment, feeling inadequate. Those experiences can create avoidance patterns too. The difference is that they're harder to see. Maybe every time you sit down to work on something important, you feel uncertainty. Maybe you fear finding out you're not as capable as you hope. Maybe success would create pressure. Maybe failure would create shame. Maybe the task feels overwhelming. Your brain notices that discomfort, then quietly redirects you somewhere safer. Not because it's trying to ruin your life, because it's trying to protect you. The problem is that protection and progress often point in different directions. So the brain chooses comfort. You choose avoidance. Then the avoidance creates guilt. The guilt strengthens the belief that you're lazy, and eventually a loop forms. Discomfort, avoidance, guilt, self-judgment, more discomfort, more avoidance, again and again. Over time, the label becomes part of your identity. You stop saying, "I avoid uncomfortable things," and start saying, "I'm lazy." That's a very different conclusion. If you're recognizing yourself in this pattern, there may be less wrong with you than you think. This is where many people misunderstand the problem. They assume laziness is causing the avoidance. But often the avoidance comes first. The person isn't avoiding them because they're lazy. They're avoiding it because something feels uncomfortable. Then they observe their own behavior and create a story about themselves. The story becomes, "I'm lazy." Eventually, that identity starts shaping future behavior. Now, every time they procrastinate, they see confirmation. More evidence, more proof. The identity grows stronger. But if the behavior is being driven by discomfort, then laziness isn't the root cause. It's the label you've attached to the pattern. And labels can be wrong. Here is shift number 1. Stop asking, "Why am I so lazy?" Start asking, "What discomfort am I avoiding right now?" That question points toward the actual problem. Shift number 2. Pay attention to the moment before avoidance. Most people only notice the distraction. Try noticing what happened immediately before it. What feelings showed up? Overwhelm? Fear? Confusion? Pressure? That's usually where the pattern begins. Shift number 3. Separate behavior from identity. You procrastinated. That doesn't mean you're a procrastinator. You avoided something. That doesn't mean avoidance is who you are. The less you fuse behavior with identity, the easier it becomes to change. Shift number 4. Practice moving towards small amounts of discomfort. Not huge amounts, small amounts. The goal isn't becoming fearless. The goal is teaching your brain that discomfort is survivable. That's how avoidance starts losing its power. Here is the closing idea I want to leave you with. The next time you catch yourself calling yourself lazy, pause for a moment. Ask yourself what might be underneath that label. Because laziness is often where the investigation stops, but that's usually not where the pattern starts. The behavior you're frustrated by may not be evidence that something is wrong with you. It may be evidence that your brain learned to protect you in a way that's no longer helping. And once you see that pattern clearly, you can finally stop fighting yourself and start understanding what's actually happening.